Welcome to another episode of the STR Sisterhood. I'm your host, Stacey St. John, and I am so excited to spend a few minutes with you today. Thanks for having me into your day. Now, before we jump into this episode, I'm going to read a quote to you that I recently read, and it says, "When I believe in something, I'm like a dog with a bone." Those awesome words come to us from the one and only American actress, Melissa McCarthy. Now, in this episode, we're not just talking about belief. We are talking about systems and processes and how Marissa Grover was able to change her life by building systems and processes in her short-term rental business. I can't wait for you to meet her. So without further ado, here's my conversation with Marissa. So today we are joined by Marissa Grover, and we are talking about all things systems and processes so that we actually run businesses that run themselves. Marissa, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, I'm so honored to be able to be a guest on your show. I've been a fan and a listener for a long time. And so this is such a peak moment for me. I feel like I'm like on a pedestal for just this quick hour.
That's so kind of you. And, at the end of the day, we're just going to have a conversation, right? And I thank you to anyone who's watching or listening. We appreciate you tuning in to our conversation. Before pushing record, Marissa, you and I talked about the fact that we're probably very likely cut from the same cloth. We probably think very similarly, and I'm super excited to dive into that with you. Just for anyone who isn't familiar, first of all, just share with us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and how you got started in short-term rentals.
Yeah, I love this question. There's a lot of different directions that I could take this, but I will start with what I think is the very most important. And that's that I'm a mom of 2 toddlers. And so I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, and I stay home with them full time. So they are my full-time job. I run a management company of 50 plus properties. We're always adding a few more. I coach entrepreneurs on how to build systems in their business. And I do that all while juggling being a mom and maintaining a house. And I think that's super important.
Mm-hmm.
So how I got started is my little family moved away from all of the extended family. My husband needed to get his doctorate, so he moved to a small town. In the process of doing that, family wanted to come see us and stay with us, but we lived in a smaller home. So they ended up buying a property, listing on Airbnb, and we're like, hey, we need someone local to handle all of the things. That person became me. That property turned from 1 to 5 and 5 to 10 and 10 to 30 and 30 to 50. And here we are in just a growing operation. So that's kind of how I got started, the short version.
Amazing. That's so fun. And I love that, it was born out of the fact that your family wanted to spend time together with you, right? Which is so, I think, so special. And one of the reasons why I love this industry is because, within our day-to-day, we get to help families make memories together. And that lights me up. So that's super fun. Talk to us a little bit about when you just first got started. What did life look like for you then? And were you doing things yourself? And when was the light bulb moment that, hey, I need a system for this. I need a process for this. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, when I very first got started, there was a lot of YouTube videos. There was a lot of Googling. There was a lot of ordering books on Amazon and just learning what I could, right? A lot of terminology that I'd never heard before and that I had to learn. And hiring my first cleaner and kind of understanding what that's going to be like. And do I have to check her work? And, me and her texting back and forth all day, every day. And that's kind of what it looked like for a while. Well, once I have a really unique situation. And once I started getting a few properties, somebody, a realtor, local, told me, in order to continue to manage properties, you have to get a real estate license. And I was like, oh, okay, I don't want to get in trouble. So I'm going to do that. So I went and I got my real estate license. Well, as I got it, what I didn't know, and there's a lot to this, right? Like we don't know what we don't know until we're there, right? What I didn't know is you need a broker. When you're a real estate agent, you need a broker. And I'm like, oh, okay. So then I had to do all this research looking into brokers and who I would want to be my broker. Well, I picked one and partnered with them. And I said, I only want to do short-term rentals. I don't want to do any real estate. I don't want to do anything else. I just want to do short-term rentals. And they said, that's fine. You can open the short-term rental division of our company. Oh, okay, great. They said, but we're going to split all of your profits. You get 70, we'll get 30%, 70, 30. Yeah, anyway. And I'm like, okay, well, what happened is in making my own property management company, I now built it for somebody else. Right. And so we had about 19 properties, and 9 months down the road, we had to part ways. It wasn't the most beautiful situation. And they kept all of the properties, and I left and started again.
Wow.
So I went and I partnered with a different broker because I had a real estate license, and this is what I thought I had to do. Started again. The whole thing kept going down the road. And eventually we parted ways. What I had to learn the hard way is two things. One, traditional real estate sales and brokers and short-term rentals aren't made of the same material. It was really difficult to try and merge two very different things. And two, in my state, I didn't need a license at all. And so I had built my company 3 times from the ground up through these partnerships. And in that, I had to learn, I'm not going to build it again and do this all from scratch again without systems.
Right.
So that was one really big point for me, is when I had to do it so many times, all from scratch. The second point to when I was like, this is not working, is when a guest had messaged me if they could check in early while I was in labor.
Oh, God.
And I responded. I responded.
Hilarious.
Yeah. I remember being in labor thinking, this should be a day off for me. This should be a time off. Like, I am pushing a baby out. I should have my phone in a different place. And that was a time, that was like the very, we have the professional side of when I learned I need systems and the personal side, right? Like, I'm sure so many people like me have been stepping away from restaurants and walking out the doors to take a phone call, or have been swimming with their kids, having to get out of the pool because their Apple Watch is buzzing because some guests can't get in the front door right now and they're calling you, or has to leave movie nights, or doesn't go to the movie theater because they're afraid what's going to happen if they put their phone down for 2 hours. Yeah, all of that happened to me and labor. And I was like, we're done. We're going to find a different way.
Yeah. And so what did that path look like? Once you knew, okay, I need to do this differently, what did you do? What did that path look like for you?
Yeah. I think a common misconception about building systems is that it is going to suck your soul for a full year of your life. Like, there's no alternative, right? And so I just started.
Yes.
I just started.
Preach it, girl. Preach it. You just started. Sorry to interrupt you. But
no, that's it.
Huge.
Yeah, I just started. So I started with, writing down things that I did all the time. And so I started there. And then I was like, oh, well, I'm going to go in and update this listing. And so I'm just going to record myself doing it. I'm not going to do anything different than I would be doing today anyway, but I'm just going to record myself doing it on a Loom video or a Zoom or whatever you use. Just record yourself doing it. And then I just stored that link somewhere, And sometimes it was even voice notes to myself. Take on my phone, just recording. Okay, so this happened and this is what I would do. And I'm just walking myself through it and talking myself through it. Save that, save the link somewhere. That's it. That's all. That's how I started, right? It has now grown to be something a lot bigger than that. But I think so many people are like, I can't build systems because I don't have the time, or I don't have the wisdom, or I don't have the force behind me. You do. You just start.
Yes. And I love your approach. I did the exact same thing. I love Loom, is one of my favorite ways to document what I'm doing, especially online, because obviously you can share your screen. And what I do is I just talk through, okay, this is what I'm doing and here's why I'm doing it. And I'm going to click here. And, Loom will also actually take your video and create an SOP from your video. Now, sometimes I like to tweak it. Actually, all the time I like to tweak it. But be that as it may, it has tremendous functionality. that you can use to start documenting. I love that you talked about your voice recorder on your phone. You can absolutely store that, export that, send it to your computer, upload that into ChatGPT and say, write a process based on, this audio file or this, transcript. There are so many different ways to use modern technology. And to your point, I feel like so often folks don't do it because it feels heavy. It feels like, oh, I just have to have this suck my soul for a year, right? Guess what? I don't know about you, Marissa, but I am always improving my systems, my processes. So it's never a one and done. It's just continuous improvement. What are your thoughts on that approach?
I love this because I think one of the biggest challenges that I see entrepreneurs face daily is they don't want to build systems or they don't want to hire a cleaner or whatever their challenge is. They don't want to do it because they want it to be 100% perfect the very first time. Right. And to what you just said, me and you, we have big companies, right? We're still evolving. We're still writing SOPs. We're still changing. Mine is not perfect. It will probably never be perfect, but it is there and it exists. And so I love that you said that because I just hear that barrier over and over and over of like, well, I would do that, but then I'm going to have to do this and then I'm going to have to do this and then I'm going to have to change softwares and then, and it's like, just do it where you're at right now. Just do it right now today. And you can evolve down the road, just like I have.
And, the other thing too, that I always try to impart on folks is the value of your time. If you are in constant repeat mode where you are repeating the same task over and over and over again, number one, is that the highest and best value from your own brain power? Is that the highest and best use of your brain power? Is what you're doing something that only you could do, or could it be automated? Could it be delegated to someone else? There are so many ways that we can elevate ourselves as business owners by simply having a system or a process in place. So I also would love to ask you about your team. What does your team look like? Because that is an important part of the equation as well.
Yeah, I love that question. I did want to circle back to what you were saying just before, because I think that's super important, and I'll come back to my team. I think that having belief in yourself and believing that you have value is the start of a domino effect that's much bigger, right? So just like you said, like teaching people, are you the only person that can do this thing? I think so often people want to say yes, but they don't realize like their time is valuable and who they are and the knowledge they have is valuable. You have to believe that first.
Yeah.
You have to believe that first. And once you start to believe, I am the CEO and I am the leader of my business. And, I don't need to do some of these other things because I need to do these big things, right?
Yeah.
Once you start to believe that, I think it gets a little bit easier to let go of some of the things because you know your value. So I think when entrepreneurs say like, oh, I'll just do this really quick, it'll take me 2 minutes. That's one thing that you're slowing yourself down on your progress road. And so I would challenge you to stop and say, who or what can do this thing for me? And then I always say, if you do it twice, it needs an SOP. If you do it and so those are kind of my philosophies. I just wanted to mention that because I think one of the biggest barriers is the mindset. And so anyone listening to this episode, you have to believe that you are the valuable and the most important part of your team because you're the cornerstone of anything else that happens or produces out of your business. It happens because of you. So start there and then you can grow.
Yep.
So my team on my property management side, I have 3 virtual assistants and then I have an operations manager. So that's what we have there. And I also have other virtual assistants. I have administrative assistants. I have chief operating officers. And I have systems and operations virtual assistants that help all of that. So I have about 7 virtual assistants and 1 full-time local employee.
Ever open your Airbnb calendar and just stare at those empty gaps? Yep, that quiet panic, it's real. But so is the solution. The Short-Term Rental Virtual Summit for Women is happening February 4th through 6th And it is your step-by-step roadmap for fixing bookings, building smarter systems, and leading your STR like a real business. It's 3 days and it's just $47. And yes, you belong in that virtual room. Go grab your ticket right now at strvirtualsummit.com. Let's stop guessing and start growing. I'm curious, from your perspective, how did you graduate your mindset? How did you elevate into your next level from a mindset perspective? Because whether we're building systems or whether we're building teams, we do have to have a different mindset. Mm-hmm. I'm curious, what did that look like for you? And was that an aha moment, or did someone impart a piece of wisdom on you? What did that look like for you?
Yeah, I think in my case, it started with desperation, right? Like I was like, I have to do something different. My kids don't even know me. I'm driving toilet paper around all these different houses all the time, and I'm struggling and I'm stressed, and this is not what I wanted out of my life. Like, I think first of all, it started from that point, and I think a lot of people start there.
Yep.
And then it was very gradual. And I wish it was instant. I wish it was just a light bulb moment. I woke up one morning, it was like, I'm the queen of the world. It wasn't like that for me. It was very gradual, and it was a coach, after a friend, after a partner, after a spouse, after a coach, telling me and reminding me. And that's what it took. And I think that's what it takes for a lot of people. And I really wish that we could tell people this sooner in their careers and in their businesses. But I think you just have to get there, and you have to get there in a way that works for you.
Yeah. I love that you had folks in your corner that were helping you along the way. And I did as well. It is something that I would highly recommend to anyone who's listening or watching. Neither Marissa or I have gotten to where we've gotten by ourselves, right? We've had people in our corner that we've tapped into. I call it knowledge hacking, tapping into their knowledge, their systems, the way that they have learned things, and really shortcutting, if you will, our learning process. That being said, I also know that you can have all the coaches in the world and all the people in your life that are telling you something, and yet you have to make the decision to believe it. And if anybody's listening or watching and in that same situation, I want you to think about the phrase act as if, right? Okay, maybe I don't believe it today, but let's act as if I do, right? And, I also believe that there is something that's so powerful about our minds and this thing that's inside of our skull. We can really train our brains to act as if. So again, our subconscious mind has absolutely no logic whatsoever. It is a computer, right? So people always talk about affirmations and about how woo-woo or fluffy affirmations are. I'm here to tell you, if you want to change your mindset, first of all, commit to changing that mindset. Be the person that has a different mindset, and do the things that next level person does. Also, use affirmations to your benefit, right? Say affirmations out loud each and every day. Why? Even if you don't believe them, your subconscious brain will store them like data in a computer. And after long enough, that data will become more and more and more prevalent in how you're showing up day after day. So I just wanted to offer those nuggets for changing your mindset. Marissa, any other thoughts or ideas that you want to share along those same lines?
Yeah, a couple things. First of all, I found that delegation was addicting to me. It was like a bit of a drug, right? Not really, but I was like, hey, could you help me do this thing? And then all of a sudden it was done. And I was like, oh, that was kind of fun. What else can I pass on? And I think that was one little thing that I was able to, oh, I didn't have to do that. Oh, somebody else could do that for me. Like that was something that was little by little able to help me elevate just a little bit. So I would encourage anyone listening, start with one thing. Just start with one thing, and if for you, that's guest communication, start there. Be like, okay, I'm not going to answer any guest messages on Mondays or whatever day you want to do, and pick somebody that can handle that for you. And then I bet that after a few Mondays, you're going to like that and want to do Tuesdays as well, right? And then you start to see, oh, I don't have to answer these guest messages on Mondays and Tuesdays. And so that's part of what happened for me is the proof is in the pudding, for lack of a better term. It just was starting and utilizing people in a leadership role rather than just thinking them as automated task-based individuals.
Yep. Yeah. I think that's really important, regardless of if you have one virtual assistant or 7. I always advise folks to delegate outcomes instead of delegate tasks. So delegate what it is that you want to have happen versus, hey, can you update this listing for me today, right? Delegate listing optimization and provide people the systems and processes to be able to optimize that listing on an ongoing basis. As an example, from your team's perspective, how did you find good people for your team? What types of practices did you have in place when it came to hiring?
This is an excellent question. I am so glad you asked, because this is one of the biggest mistakes that I encounter with people trying to build a team. The first thing that people do, in my experience, when they're trying to hire a virtual assistant or anybody, is they post a job or they just start, asking around. And I would encourage you to start with what you need and who you are. So many people skip those two things and they, I have to understand my strengths and my weaknesses. And I'm open about my strengths and weaknesses, but those are the positions that I need to feel is my weaknesses, right? And I need someone to come in and provide and that be their strength. But I think more importantly than that, Stacey, is your culture. And who you are as a business and your core values, your mission, your vision, your goals, all of those things matter more than anything somebody can put on a piece of paper. And that's what you need to translate to the people you're bringing into your fold, right? Is who am I trying to add to this team? How fast do we respond to guests, to homeowners? What are the standards that we have in our company? Like, what are the non-negotiables? Nothing can come before this. That's what needs to go on that paper. That's what needs to go on that job description. Because if you can hire for culture, they can do anything that you need because they fit the mold that you're building.
Yeah, that's so incredibly important. And I think oftentimes people might not even realize that they have a culture because it's just them. As they're, growing and they're looking to bring on their first team member, they're not thinking necessarily about that corporate culture because they're thinking, oh, it's just me, myself, and I. And I think, Marissa, something that you and I share is that we are proactively building that culture from the first hire, right? I love the idea of core values. I always share with my folks inside my Achievers Club and STR Success Accelerator, we hire and fire by our core values. And so the core values are an integral part of my interview process. And so what a lot of folks do is they hire for skill and come to realize, hey, this is not the right person, even though they have the right skills, because this is not the right person that fits what it is that I am looking to accomplish. So again, when it came to you outlining who it is that you were wanting to bring on and bringing those folks on, did you have your own system and process for that hiring? How did that work for you?
At first I did not. And I don't think a lot of people do. Your first hire, you're just like, I don't know what I'm doing. Just like when I hired my first cleaner, you're just like, I just want you to clean, right? But I never wanted to hire any virtual assistants from a traditional agency. So I wanted to go a different route. So that was the route that I wanted to go and the route that I built for other people to go because I just thought the fees were too high. So my first hire was based off of a recommendation from another short-term rental operator who had a virtual assistant that knew somebody. So that's where we started. And I did that for a little while. My virtual assistants would recommend somebody. And then, as we grew to a small team, 1 or 2 virtual assistants, it really became about what are the outcomes that I'm looking for in my company, and let's hire off of those. If you want an all-female company, that's fine. You need to know that before you put a job posting out. How many people do you want to interview, and how seriously are you taking this job? Again, those are things that you want to outline before you bring people into your business.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Talk to me a little bit about your local team member. How did you find that person, and what did that look like bringing them on?
Yeah, my local team member was a cleaner for me for a long time. And so she had gotten to know my standards and values, communication styles, and eventually she became the lead cleaner, and then, trained the other cleaners. And then from there, now she's operations manager and over all of that. So I always want to hire people that are already part of my business and promote them to another level because they already know how we work. But if we have to bring someone outside, let's make sure they understand who we are before we proceed in that hiring process.
Yeah. Yeah. Love that. Love that. Love that. Okay. Talk to me about, we talked about systems and processes. We've talked about team members. I'm curious, what was the first thing that you delegated?
Guest communication.
Gotcha.
The reason behind guest communication for me is because I wanted to eat dinner with my family. I wanted to sit down at the table and eat a meal and know that I could put down my phone for a few minutes and just eat with my little kids. So that's where it started. It started with a few hours a day and then grew to a longer shift. And then we wanted more virtual assistants, and then we wanted 7 days coverage, right? It started small, but it was all rooted in, I want to spend more time with my family. And this is the thing that's taking up the most of my time and the most of my brain space.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I always encourage people to start there. What are you doing that is taking the most of your time now? And let's find a way to either use technology or people and, get that ball rolling so you don't have to do that thing.
Yes. I love that. I love that. And is there something that you held on to that you didn't delegate that you wished you delegated earlier?
Oh, this is a good question. The first one that comes to mind is owner communication, homeowner communication. I felt that I was the only person that could communicate with the homeowners the way that I wanted to communicate with them. I learned shortly after that the guest communication is a large part of the business. I'm not demeaning that at all, but the owner communication is equally as important. And if your phone's going off over here and somebody else is handling this, that doesn't really make it better.
Right.
Doesn't really help.
Yeah.
So I tell everyone that I possibly can to get your phone number out of as much of many things as you possibly can. Your personal number should be for your personal life. Anything related to business should be moved to a different phone number. And there are softwares and tools that can do that really, really well. You can even tell them it's your business line or your business phone number. You can have an app on your phone. You could still respond if you needed to jump in, but get your personal life. Just let it be your personal life and try not to mix that with business as much as you can.
Yep. What's your favorite phone or communication app that you use?
My favorite is OpenPhone, which they just rebranded to Quo.
Whoa. It's a very interesting name. I don't know how
I would have picked.
It's not what I would have picked either, but clearly they did not ask us.
They didn't ask us, but that would be my first choice. There's Ring Central and there's OpenPhone. I think OpenPhone is just phenomenally better, and so I would go with them if you have the choice.
And I want to go to something, that we talked about a little bit earlier, was the value, recognizing the value that you bring to the business. What does that look like for you as you go into your next level? Meaning, what is next as you continue to elevate yourself in your business? how are you stepping into the next best version of Marissa?
Yeah, such a good question. And this brings me back to my 2026 goals that I've been writing down and thinking about a lot. And one of those goals is do the things that Marissa wants to do, not the things that the world wants Marissa to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something I've been thinking a lot about. I think we've all had years of, especially me, I will say like one challenge that I face is like, I need to have the biggest property management company. Like everyone else is growing and growing and growing, and I need to have that. And one day I thought to myself, I don't want that. That's not for me,
Right.
But that was something that was really hard for me because the community that I was surrounded with and the people that I was were, just elevating and just adding properties. And I'm like, am I missing something? Like, am I not doing what all these people are doing? Like, that was really tricky for me. And one day I was like, we don't want more than this many properties because we want the quality to be this. And I started prioritizing my choices and my company that I built 3 times. Like if I built this so intentionally, I should live by the things that are important to me. So that's one of the things. The other thing is do the things that I enjoy. Do the things that I enjoy. In 2026, I want to step aside from doing the things that I don't love. And a lot of that is delegated, but there's still things that I'm like, I don't really love this. And I will pause here and say, you will always have to do things you don't love. We don't love laundry. It's got to get done. It's got to get done. But I want to enjoy my hobbies. I've kind of lost myself a little bit. I want to prioritize my hobbies and my goals. And the part of my business that I love is building a community for other people and coaching other people on how they can elevate in their business. So that's where I plan to spend time in 2026, along with my hobbies and prioritizing my interests, which sounds selfish, but it took a long time to get here. And I think it's really important that we do that.
Yeah. It doesn't sound selfish at all. Self-care is not a luxury. And a lot of people, especially entrepreneurs who are women, look at self-care as I'll do that later. I can't do it now. And I believe that, it is so critically important to do the things that you love with the people that you love and build a business that integrates with that life versus, okay, I'm going to, hustle for 2 years and I'm going to build this business and watch my life fall apart at the same time. Like that's no good. But that's what's,
and I've been there.
Yeah.
I've been there and I had a lot of years where it was all about building. And we have built and this year is all about let's prioritize the things that I need and let's prioritize my phrase that I'm going into 2026 with is improve the service, not change the product. And that's something I've thought a lot about because I think a lot of us as entrepreneurs have this shiny red ball object syndrome. And I'm guilty of it too, right? But it's like, oh, I should do this and I should do this and I should do this. And maybe I could have this service. And I totally get that. And I see a lot of people that are like, well, I'm a manager and a designer and, a project manager and all of these things. I totally get that. I totally do. I know you want to get paid for your interior design work and manage the property. I get it. But, we have to come back to what do you really, really want and do more of that, right? We don't need to necessarily add more services. Let's improve the ones we have and make the client experience the best that we possibly can do.
Yeah. I always teach folks that, before scaling your portfolio, it's really important to know, is it time to scale my portfolio? Because if we're scaling chaos, again, that is not good. It is incredibly demanding and defeating, quite honestly, because when you're running into yourself being a bottleneck or you're running into continuous challenges every time you bring on a new property, sometimes you scratch your head and sit back and say, okay, what am I doing? And I've spoken with so many folks who have hundreds of properties in their portfolio and they're just running themselves ragged. So I love that you're very intentional from the get-go on what is it that I want and not be, not beholden by that shiny object syndrome, although that's difficult to do sometimes.
It's very difficult. Yeah. My word is focus. We're just focusing. And so that's the energy we're bringing to 2026.
I love that. I love that. Okay. I want to move to the lightning round. Okay. And I'm going to ask you to answer with the very first thing that comes to mind. Hopefully the questions will be easy. First question, where is your favorite place to vacation?
I'm going to say Disney World right now because I have two little people that just adore it and I cannot wait to go back.
I love Disney World so much. I was there, I think 4 times last year. I grew up going to Disney and the beach. And so as an adult, isn't it funny how you tend to go back to the things that you experience as a child? So love Disney. What's your favorite park at Disney World?
We really loved, surprisingly, Hollywood Studios. My husband's a big Star Wars fan. There's Toy Story Land there. And so it was just actually just super fun for us.
So good. So good. All right. Next question. Where's one place you've never been that you want to visit?
Bora.
Okay. Are you going to stay on the little huts over the water?
I think I have to.
Well, let me know when you go because I might need to be in your suitcase.
Okay. I will do that. One place I'm going to go this year that I've never been is the Philippines. I actually want to go meet all of my team for the first time in person and all the people we've helped over there. So that is on my 2026 list.
I love that. I love that. You know, the Philippines are where my virtual assistants live as well. And I find their culture to be incredibly fascinating. It would be phenomenal to meet them in person. I see them on Zoom each and every week during our team meeting, but that would be super fun to meet them in person. So I'm glad you're doing that.
Yeah, we can all go together. All of us that have team members in the Philippines, we can take a big group over. I would rather go with a group than alone, to be honest with you.
I think that's a good plan. All right. Next question. What's one thing you know now that you wished you knew when you were starting out in the world of short-term rentals?
You don't have to do everything alone.
Amen, girl. Amen. And that leads me to my next question, which could be similar, but what is the best piece of advice you've ever been given? Not necessarily tied to your business, but
something that I think about a lot. I don't know if this is the best piece of advice, but it is something that lives rent-free in my brain. And that is all feedback is good feedback. And, you know, we get feedback. I actually had a homeowner. We went to lunch a couple weeks ago and in the lunch, he was talking about his property and all the things, but he brought a printed paper list of all the things they didn't love about my personality.
Wow.
I'm still laughing about it. I'm like, I didn't expect this to happen. But you know what? It was really interesting because that was a perspective that I couldn't see and didn't know. Right. And so that's something I have to think about often. All feedback, even if it hurts, is good feedback. It's someone telling you something that maybe is a different way to look at things or a different way that you can improve your services or your products or your business.
So now I have to ask, what happened after that meeting? Like, how was it left? Did you take the piece of paper and set it on fire at the table? Like, what happened?
You know, I didn't expect we had other things to discuss anyway, but at the very end, he's like, I just want you to know these things frustrate me. I'm like, okay. So, you know, read over that. And he's like, and you can just take that home. So I did. I took it home and I put it on the counter for a few days. And eventually it did end up in the trash, but it wasn't a hard conversation. It wasn't an evil conversation. He was coming at it from, I want to better you as a professional. That kind of worked a little bit, you know? And then not too long later, we had an issue at one of his properties. And I remember sitting there when that issue happened. This was seriously like 2 weeks ago, thinking, how do I handle this? Because if I handle it this way, you don't like that way. But if I handle it this way, I'm not really sure that that's going to be any better. And so that was anyway, just an interesting moment. The conversation went well. We left happy. We're still friends. he didn't mean any harm.
Yeah. Interesting. I love the concept though, that all feedback is good feedback. The other thing that I remind myself, especially when challenging things happen, is that I believe everything happens for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we don't know during any given situation what that reason may be. And that can be a difficult phrase to remind yourself of when something you feel like has not gone your way or, has potentially been damaging to you or your business. But that's a phrase that I always remind myself of, again, especially when things get tough.
Yeah, that's a really good one.
All right, last question. What's one thing and or person that you're grateful for today?
What I'm going to say here is my spouse, but also the community of people that I'm around, because having someone that supports you in those difficult moments is phenomenally important. But if you don't have that, and even if you do have that, being around like-minded people that are doing what you're doing is the most overstated and undertaken advice out there. I tell everyone, you got to get in the community. And so many people are like, I will next year. Or, I'll do it later. Oh, it's too big of an investment. And they don't take that advice. But like you said, it is, knowledge hacking. This is the shortcut to success. And everybody's looking for the secret sauce and the thing that's going to make them better than everyone else. And here we are telling them this is it. Yep. And they don't do it. So the community and the people that you surround yourself with.
So good. So good. So before we drop off, if anyone is like, I need to find out more about Marissa's community and what she offers, where is the best place for them to find you online?
Yeah, Instagram. Come hang out with me on Instagram. I'd love to chat with you there. I'd love to answer any questions about systems or your business or your team. I want to be an open book and a resource for you. So hang out with me on Instagram and we'll chat there.
I'd love it. Marissa, thank you so much for being with us. This was so fun to talk with you, and I can't wait to watch you continue to blossom.
Yeah, you as well, Stacey. Thank you so much for having me and being prepared with such great questions. It was so fun.
You bet. Girl, if your short-term rental business is being held together by coffee, crossed fingers, and late night DMs to your cleaner, my friend, it is time for a better plan. Come join us at the Short-Term Rental Virtual Summit for Women happening February 4th through 6th, where you'll learn how to stop surviving your short-term rental business and start leading it. It'll be fun, it'll be real, and it's just $47 for all 3 days. You'll leave with clarity, strategy, and your sanity intact. Go grab your ticket right now at strvirtualsummit.com before you burn out trying to do it all.